In a shocking development, the federal government says being broke is allowed, but if you're broke and glowing, you are officially now a suspect.
You can't be glowing more than your financial status. Look your problem.
Producers have confirmed next season of Love Island will merge with the Hunger Games. Only one couple will survive the new format. Everyone else dies.
Senator Buck Nutley has unveiled his Big Girthy bill, a new proposal meant to rival the Big Beautiful bill. But does size really matter?
The shocking trend of labubu violation continues as more and more people are finding their dolls' holes stretched wide open and reeking of shame.
If you thought Bigfoot was bad, wait till you meet his gooey cousin. A kumsquatch was just spotted in Dongwood National Forest.
Did you know IKEA has released a home glory hole kit called the Fuke Hole? It includes pre-drilled panels, mounting brackets, and a stain-proof finish. We begin with breaking news out of Massachusetts, where residents are reeling from what scientists are calling a cum-comet impact.
Officials are asking everyone to stay indoors and to wear N95 masks in case of cum aerolization.
President Trump kicking off another busy week at the White House.
It has been yet another eventful week in Washington.
The activity level is off the charts. The president dialed in. He is executing his agenda at a lightning fast pace. Here's something we rarely see in American politics. President Trump is actually keeping his campaign promises, and he's doing them as quickly as possible.
This administration's moving at political light speed, and they're just getting started.
We're going to have one shot at this, and no other president's going to do what I'm doing.
Goodbye. We love you. We will be back in some form. Have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's official. Former President Donald Trump will be running for president again in 2024.
Has Donald Trump got the stamina and the will to do this again? He's come under such tremendous...
Everything is on the line in this election.
A busy day in the campaign world up in Butler today. Former President Trump holding a rally at 5 o'clock.
He just tried to kill President Trump.
Not even an assassin.
If we're not careful, AI could make it impossible to distinguish truth from fiction in the news we consume.
So, Keisha, what's a high-value man to you?
A man that gave me 10 kids, 3 evictions, $10 on Cash App, and still pull up in a Nissan Altima that sound like it got asthma.
Day one of trying to make it to work without yelling at a pedestrian.
Pray for me, y'all.
Still alive, still unemployed. But baby, I look G-O-D doing it.
Oh my God. I'm not even late. I'm just dramatic. Y'all know I will risk it all for a good melon.
We have breaking news. A laser-guided ship missile has just been launched from Rectomopolis, reportedly targeting Tainsylvania.
We're live from the scene where a laser-guided ship missile launched from Rectomopolis has struck Tainsylvania. This just in, a pubnadal blankets St. Louis in a thick bush this evening.
Downtown is completely covered in pubic hair, causing highways to close out of caution.
It's coming right for us. We need to get out of here now. Oh my God, it's taking the houses. A massive gizzard has buried Kamlambus in 2 feet of dongload. Locals blame the lack of preparation on Mayor Linda P. Slurp.
The city of Columbus is reeling today after an unprecedented event. What officials are calling a gizzard has left downtown streets. Customs officials at Orbital Port 69 have seized over 420 stolen jork blades, many still warm and dripping. A magnitude 6.9 queefquake rattled Clamlip Valley this morning, releasing a torrent of pussy farts. The children's reading session of This Little Piggy Got Pegged has been cancelled, with parents saying the book is too anatomically detailed for kids.
Lawmakers remain deadlocked on the Big Beautiful bill, with some saying $10 billion more is needed for fleshlights and robo-cooters for dudes on dry spells.
Los Angeles, because she served her fried chicken instead of a quinoa salad.
Megan Mayonnaise went to the restaurant called The Last Supper, where she claimed she was flabbergasted that they would serve her fried chicken when she in fact ordered a quinoa salad. Ms. Mayonnaise said waitress Sharkeisha Trinity knowingly gave her fried chicken, although Ms. Mayonnaise pleaded that she didn't want to eat any urban food. We have Ms. Mayonnaise along with her attorney, Roger Bangher. Can you explain how you were feeling, Ms. Mayonnaise?
I told Sharkeisha Trinity 300 times, let me speak with your manager. and she just kept twerking, sticking her tongue out and laughing at me.
We have exclusive CCTV footage from the restaurant of Miss Mayonnaise and Sharkeisha's fried chicken confrontation. Miss Mayonnaise is suing Sharkeisha Trinity for everything she got, which is 3 deadbeat fathers and $100 in unpaid child support.
We need your $80,000 down payment now.
Can I do 6 child support checks, 1 EBT card, 10 Section 8 credits, and 2 Medicaid payments?
We take it all.
Welcome back to White News Network. I'm your host, Kimberly Kumquat. Today, the BFI released documents that claim no special files exist from that one famous island. Wink, wink. BFI director said, quote unquote, although you've seen plenty of known people at that island, no American people, you were just seeing shit. The BFI office also released perfectly edited 24-hour surveillance footage of that jail cell where the main guy in charge was being held. At this point, these guys are playing in our face. Most of you are too blind to see it.
Welcome back, folks, to the White News Network. I'm your host, Tom Blandley, and tonight a white woman is leaving her husband after trying a YN. HOA President Skylar White told WNN she is filing for divorce because, quote unquote, after trying a YN, you never go back. Her husband, Kevin White, owner of Proud Boys Country Club, says he is devastated by the news and that it is, quote unquote, total malarkey. The divorce hearing is set for July 13th at Cornbread District Family Court. If Mrs. White wins, she will be entitled to half of his shit that she never worked for. Next up, rock star Roger Bang-Her has already impregnated 3 women on his Fuckfest tour. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Want to do some totally unnecessary shit like mountain jump with a fly suit on? Then head over to whitepeopleshit.com.
Whitepeopleshit.com.
Swim with sharks, it's a blast. Make memories that last.
Whitepeopleshit.com.
Yo, all right. Yo, what up, chat? Yo, man, let's do some news. All right, let's start at the top of the docket. Let's check in on DC and the cleanup.
Welcome to Rob Schmidt tonight. Trump eyeing Chicago as he targets blue cities with his tyrannical idea of making them safer against the wishes of the lunatics who currently run them. Today, the president signed an executive order designed to end cashless bail, an absurd idea that became popular during George Floyd's summer of chaos. The president's order removes federal funding from any jurisdiction where no cash bail is still in practice. The White House looking for any way that they can think of to force deep blue cities to become safer against the will of those that operate them. Tonight, Washington, D.C. nears 2 weeks without a murder. That is astonishing. You used to get one about every other day. And an incredible decrease in violent crime as well in Washington. It is amazing how fast this has worked. It's amazing how fast the city's gotten clean and safe. It's a tremendous success story. And a young rapper has gone viral for a clip that he posted bragging that he can finally wear his ice around town again. Take a look.
They said FBI, DEA, ICE, it's all that outside in Washington, D.C. I don't even got it on my shoulder no more. I'm walking around with this. I ain't had none of this. I'm walking blocks with this.
And we've seen a lot of praise from real people that live in Washington, people that aren't indoctrinated by the ideology of the left. And with that, the president is now debating sending National Guard troops into Chicago as well, a city that has become more dangerous than some of the worst third world cities around the world. Take a listen.
Brandon Johnson about to have a fit. He's a total disaster in Chicago anyway. Everything I be seeing in the comments and all the feeds on TikTok, we got mad people in the streets saying send them to Chicago. We had Obsidian over here, and he was like, they need to send them to Philly.
To the boss.
We like clean, we like beautiful, and we like safe, and that's what we're getting. We will solve Chicago within 1 week, maybe less, but within 1 week, we will have no crime in Chicago, just like we have no crime in D.C. They kill people, and they get out. Cashless bail. They thought it was discriminatory to make people put up money because...
Yeah, I think Trump just signed an executive order to get rid of cashless bail? I saw that on my news feed. I haven't checked it yet.
They just killed 3 people lying on a street. Any street, all over the country, cashless bail. We're ending it, but we're starting by ending it in D.C.
Real indication of how far Chicago has fallen. Arrests have only been made in 16% of the 150,000 reported crimes this year. Why wouldn't you commit crime? The criminals have carte blanche. Chicago's South Side is one of the most dangerous places in the world, and the mayor and city leaders offer nothing but hyperbole and nonsense and lies. And
another Democratic stronghold. I'm of the opinion this is like Hegelian dialectic, order from chaos. They need crime through the roof. One, so they can feed the prison industrial complex. You know, Democrat Party is the party of slavery. And then they need something to run on because they got no policy.
Gaslighting, they feel no pressure to actually improve quality of life, as the Democrat Party has built a bulletproof apparatus that keeps them in power regardless.
Okay, I just said that. All right, spot on. We're on the same page. Yo, Lord of Brooklyn, what up, Playboy? Yo, what up? The God Gold P, Universal Black, Red Sigma watching from work. That's Saul up in here. Let's go.
Regardless of how bad it gets. This is why we see such staggering incompetence in some of our biggest cities, because they can't lose. No matter how much they screw up the city, they can't lose. In many cities, the stupidest resident is the person who runs it. Chicago is a prime example of that. And the residents have to suffer through it because the Republicans don't vote, the Democrats just automatically win, and their primary gives you the biggest idiot in the party. Many convinced that crime and misery must just be a part of the experience of living in a city. That's how people feel. Oh, it must just be like this. This must be how it has to be. It's not. And as Chicago's leaders brag about their meager progress in fighting crime, most of which can be attributed to the tricks that they play with the numbers, the locals in Chicago give us the real lowdown.
The National Guard has to come here, even if it's for a scare tactic. They have to come here. There's no control. There's no law and order.
Today, you hardly see a police car in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I be seeing on. I see a lot of that on Twitter. I mean, on TikTok, not Twitter. Yeah, a lot of residents calling for National Guard to come down. That's turned Chicago red. All them people in Chicago with the red MAGA hats, they was going at Brandon hard up during the election season. Red Sigma says the DC cleanup, in my opinion, is a deflect from the Epstein files. This is just what I see. If it has a good outcome for black people, it's a side effect. I told you my opinion on the Epstein files. Trump's like, he not in the files, so he don't care. And they did release the list, and it seemed to be more Democrats on that joint. Whatchamacallit? He said, damn, wearing ice jewelry. Yeah, it seemed to be more Democrats on that joint. That's what Trump was saying. Like, what's his face? On the flight logs, they got Clinton 24 times to the island. Trump was like, man, I ain't never been in the island, so like, I don't really care. We'll see how that shit play out with the Epstein files.
It just seems like crime is really out of control right now.
This is becoming way too normal in this city. And while some of the stats are down, that doesn't matter when 2 people were killed next door to you.
We have a rule, like on weekends, we don't walk here. We'll just, like, if we go, we'll go to West Loop or whatever, we'll Uber, and then we'll Uber home.
The whole neighborhood is just sick of people coming into the neighborhood and acting like they can just come ravage your stores, take what they want to take, and then they try to make you feel like you're wrong for defending your property.
There you go. That's the reality of living in Chicago. Real people living there. There's no way to conceal that with statistical trickery. Today, Chicago's mayor, though, Brandon Johnson, and the governor, J.B. Pritzker, sounded a lot different than the real people that actually live in that city. They held a panicked news conference.
Yo, what up, Mr. O? Mr. O from Chicago. They're talking about sending the National Guard there. What you think?
Because they are absolutely mortified of losing their federal funding.
We need the federal resources to make sure that we're building more affordable housing, expanding mental and behavioral health care, education, all of these things that could reduce crime and provide real community safety. We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that, and we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world without solving the problems of crime and violence. The addiction on jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down.
This guy, Brandon Johnson, is absolutely useless. Universal Black said Oakland could be next. Yo, Detroit 313, what it do, Playboy? I see you, man. Mr. O said, please come to Chicago stand, Mr. Trump. All right, yeah, it's official. Brandon Johnson seemed to be worse than Lori Lightfoot, if that was actually even possible, bro. Like, that shit crazy. Yo, Detroit, I see you a member, man. Did you shoot me an email with your Cash App, bro? We've been Cash Apping members, me and Saul. Detroit with the crypto.
We got more pricey games coming up in the second half of the show. Don't go away, folks. We got more pricey games coming up in the second half of the show. Don't go away, folks. We got more pricey games coming up.
Okay, Mr. Yeah, okay, he is worse than their brother. And then wasn't they stealing black people's property and stuff with all them tax laws? And I know he was raising the property tax or something ridiculous.
Yeah. Moron parade in Chicago today. Arresting people for crime won't stop crime, and it's racist to do so. I wonder why they have such an issue with crime on the south side of Chicago. Because they've actually indoctrinated the residents, so many of them, to believe this. We need to give people free houses to stop them from committing crime with federal money. How terrifying that this is a fairly mainstream political theory in this country, one that's been tested on American cities all over the country in recent years. Today, Illinois' governor said if Trump cared about reducing crime, he wouldn't be cutting funding to violence prevention programs for trained outreach workers to de-escalate conflict on the streets. J.B. Pritzker is talking about the guidance counselors that these people all want to send out to replace cops. He actually said that today with a straight face. And then he said this.
This is not a time to pretend here that there are two sides to this story. This is not a time to fall back into the reflexive crouch that I so often see where the authority...
J.D. Pritzker's a billionaire, you know that, right? And that's what I be saying about these white liberals. They live in neighborhoods where it's not crime ridden, and then advocate for crime in the neighborhoods where blacks and lower income people live. It's plantation politics, bro. They in the big house, you out there in the fields and in the shacks with the crime. And they tell you, hey, ain't nothing wrong with crime. Just, don't bring it where I live, but ain't nothing wrong with it. You see what I'm saying? Pritzker's a billionaire.
And creep by this administration is ignored. Donald Trump wants to use the military to occupy a U.S. city, punish his dissidents, and score political points. If this were happening in any other country, we would have no trouble calling it what it is, a dangerous power grab.
Yo, in DC, no murders. The murders then just stopped magically. Sure, Chicago would be happy with like no murders for a couple weeks.
Proposed actions will make our jobs harder and the lives of our residents worse. Mr. President, do not come to Chicago.
Do not make my city safe, because it will cost me terribly politically. They are mortified at what would happen politically if Trump cleaned up Chicago and the South Side was suddenly no longer littered with dead black kids. They're terrified of that. Their entire party's approach for years to law and order has been that more cops, more security, more arrests does not work. If their city sees that it does work and it works quickly the way it did in DC, they are doomed. It would be the end of Pritzker's presidential ambitions. It would be the end of Brandon Johnson's political career. So they respond with this kind of talk.
We're going to remain firm. We'll take legal action. But the people of this city are accustomed to rising up against tyranny. And if that's necessary, I believe that the people of Chicago will stand firm alongside of me as I work every single day to protect the people of this.
This is the same dude who gave all the money to the immigrants in his city as a sanctuary city, and was taking resources away from all the residents, and at the same time funneling the federal money for the illegal immigrants into his friends' nonprofits.
City.
Tyranny. You know what's tyranny is only having one political party as a choice, which is what most of the people in Chicago have to deal with. They had Lightfoot. Lightfoot was a total idiot. And somehow they replaced Lightfoot with a bigger idiot. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Who thought that after Lightfoot went out that you'd get Brandon Johnson?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to do worse than Lightfoot. Detroit 313 says, please come to Chicago and Detroit, Trump, because Detroit is going to elect a black woman in the mayor's office. Bro, I keep telling you, you got the step number one, stop electing these Keishas. It all can't be done overnight. But the first and the easiest step is to get all these Keishas out of office, and we take it from there.
That's tyranny. Tyranny is having no options, no choice. That's Chicago. That's most blue cities. You got one party to choose from. The other one doesn't really exist. Tyranny is cleaning up the city, lowering the crime rates. The real danger to Democrat politicians is not more crime in their jurisdictions. It's actually less. If their communities become safe.
Bingo, I just said that. They want the crime, so they have something to keep running on. So they can keep promising you resources that you're not going to get. They're like one of these small African countries where they get all these international loans and they never manage to build any infrastructure for the country, but all the leaders get rich. It's the same thing.
For using a tactic that they have vilified, which is more cops, more security, it will be a political earthquake for them. It's happening in DC, and it could end their stranglehold on the black vote and on these big cities once and for all. Today, Stephen Miller detailed the scam that was pulled in Washington to give residents the illusion that the left's insane policies actually do make people safer. Take a listen to this.
We've uncovered, in the process of uncovering, a massive scandal in Washington, D.C. with the doctoring of crime stats. And the Department of Justice, under the Attorney General, is leading the effort to uncover this. But when we ultimately share the results, it will stun you. The extent to which, even though D.C. had the worst crime in America, honestly measured, it dramatically understated how bad it was. There's even accusations that murders and homicides were reported as accidents instead of murders. I mean, this is how severe the manipulation of the crime data has been in the city.
You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel.
All right, back. Good segment. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Little Brooklyn. Poverty pimps are reliant on chaos for profit. That's a whole fact, though. Mr. O says, it's Keishas electing Keishas. That's a fact as well. They haven't learned anything from Tiffany Henyard fiasco in Dalton, Illinois. That's why we need this black men's voting bloc that showed up for Trump in 2016. I think we're trending toward 30-something%, man. You know what I'm saying? If we can get that number in like the low 30s, that's a good swing vote there. Universal Black Chicago governor reminds me of the mayor. Oh shit, yeah, for the Simpsons. That's funny. That's a whole fact for the Simpsons. All right, let's Cash Patel hasn't been keeping. He's been keeping a low profile. We haven't seen him in the news because he's been behind the scenes, putting cases on all you ninjas, putting cases on them. You see, they just ran up in John Bolton's crib. But let's see what our boy Cash got to say. Cash Patel, director of the FBI, and this is his interview with Kudlow. And he's going to be talking about Russiagate and a few other items.
Joining us now is FBI Director, Mr. Cash Patel, who was an old friend. Director Patel, thank you very much for coming on. Before we get into all the Watergate stuff and, I'm sorry, the Russiagate stuff, you broke some news today. You got one of your top 10 most wanted people. You finally got her. You want to give us a moment about that? Because to me, this is FBI G-Man stuff that I loved when I was a kid, and this is what makes the FBI great, keeping us safe. Who did you nab, Cash?
Hey, Larry, it's great to be with you. And under President Trump's leadership about protecting the homeland and our way of life, the FBI continues to go to the ends of the earth to chase violent criminals and terrorists and anyone who will do us harm. So today, I'm proud to announce on your show, thanks to the dedicated women of the FBI, we captured Cindy Singh, who has been a fugitive for multiple years out of the state of Texas. The state of Texas in 2023 charged Miss Singh with the capital murder of her own 6-year-old child. Her own 6-year-old child. She fled the United States of America years ago and was not seen by anyone for 2.5 years. And thanks to our great work with our partners in the government of India and overseas, we literally captured her for the first time in 2.5 years. She is now in FBI custody, and she's on her way to face prosecution in the state of Texas. And also thanks to our great partners at the Department of Justice and the Attorney General, she'll also be facing charges of feloniously evading prosecution for those heinous state charges. And just to show you what the FBI and the G-men are doing here and the women are doing here, that is our 4th top 10 capture and arrest in the 6 months of Donald Trump's tenure. That is as many as Joe Biden did in 4 years. On top of that, we're getting folks like people who were involved in the Abbey bombing. And we've already captured one of those folks thanks to our collaboration with Director Ratcliffe. So the FBI is back to going after violent criminals and defending the homeland because that's what Donald Trump mandate was elected to do.
This is why, I'm glad you broke the news here. More to the point, this is why the FBI should be great. This is why we love the FBI. This is why we love the G-men. I grew up in the 1950s and 1960s. We saw it, and we saw it everywhere. We saw it on TV. This is great stuff, Cash. This is great stuff. And congratulations. Thank you. And let me add, or let us talk about for a moment, you and the FBI are helping to clean up Washington, D.C., which was badly in need of getting cleaned up. Can you say a word on that one?
Absolutely, Larry. Look, thanks again to President Trump, his initiative to clean our streets and rid of violent criminals, starting in our nation's capital. Let me speak to just briefly what the FBI did last night. FBI had 41 arrests last night, including 6 gun seizures and 8 drug seizures. That's 8 drug seizures and 6 guns off our streets. Now, the totality and the brilliance of the Trump administration and the Department of Justice combining forces with DEA, ATF, and the U.S. Park Police and our local law enforcement authorities, in just 1 week alone, we have 550 total arrests of violent criminals, including dozens of firearms and 40 drug seizures, to include narcotics, meth, fentanyl, cocaine, and violent crimes such as rape, homicide, assaults, all here in our nation's capital. Larry, I live here now for most of the time, and when you walk around the streets, you'll notice a difference. And that's what President Trump was talking about when he said, we're going to clean up our streets. And that's how serious the DOJ is with Attorney General Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche in making these arrests with our collective partners. We're using a whole of government approach. All federal authorities are all in with our state partners.
Yes, terrific stuff. We had Attorney General Bondi on the show, talked about it, and you've given us some more data. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. Now, I got to say, though, Director Cash Patel, my judgment, at least, just one Indian's judgment, the FBI is not here to invade the home of a former president and first lady. That is not what the FBI is supposed to do. Now, that's not under your aegis. That came in the prior administration. I get that. But I have a lot of questions about that. First of all, how is that possible? And how is the FBI just going to go and raid Mar-a-Lago, a president's home, for heaven's sakes? How could that have happened? And would it happen again? That's another question I want to ask.
The answer to both of those questions is the same in terms of origination. It was a total weaponization and politicization by the FBI and DOJ in the Biden administration, dating back to the Obama administration, that led not only to Russiagate, as you opened up with, but to the invasion of Donald Trump's private home in Mar-a-Lago. There was, as we now know, thanks to the federal courts, there was no constitutional basis to do so. There was no lawful predicate to open that investigation. But once you let the politicians run the FBI and DOJ and weaponize it against their political opponents, like they have done for years against Donald Trump, back to Russiagate and to his home, we are now showing and exposing again the weaponization. And to your second point, once we rid, and that's what we're doing here at the FBI, ridding this place of its former leadership structure that did that weaponization, and we're giving accountability to the American people as we find it. As you highlighted, myself, Director Ratcliffe, and others in the intelligence community are
salute. That Pookie and Ray Ray show, salute, bro.
Declassifying documents at a great rate to publicize what we're finding so the American public can read it for themselves.
Cash, has there been a full investigation of the Mar-a-Lago invasion? Why, where, when, who did it? You talk about the leaders. I guess we can blame the leaders of the FBI, but there are a lot of people on the ground. I don't know how that all works. Question, has there been a major league investigation? I don't.
Good question, Carlo. What? Yeah, are you investigating this, Patel? We know Comey was at the top of the Russiagate joint, but yeah, who else is involved?
I think the public is aware of one, or if there is, what the conclusions were.
Look, Larry, on this one, as you know, I got to be careful in terms of what investigations we formally have open. But you know this from me. I've been on the Russiagate beat for about a decade, getting back to my
Yo, what's up, RW? We up here doing some news.
Time with Congressman Chairman Devin Nunes, exposing the corruption at the FISA court, the illegalities and the weaponization there, and the involvement of Hillary Clinton's campaign to directly fund and weaponize the Department of Justice and the FBI. And what I'm committed to here as the director of FBI is to root it all out. And here's the thing, Larry, we are answering questions publicly so the public knows what we're doing in terms of whether or not we have an investigation. Putting that aside, these documents show that people in leadership positions may have lied. Brennan, Clapper, Comey. We are not going to leave one document unturned. That is why we are going out throughout this building and throughout the country and finding these materials that they wrote down in burn bags and tried to destroy. And all of it, in my opinion, we are going to show the public, at least through the declassification process and the documents we're producing, that it is public. And whether or not this investigation is going as far-reaching as it should, I will just answer you with this. While I can't comment on the investigation itself, we, me specifically, have shown the American public time and time again of the weaponization. And now I'm the director of the FBI, thanks to Donald Trump. And we have a great attorney general in Pam Bondi. And where we can find accountability, we are joining forces literally on a daily basis to do so, especially on the matters involving Russiagate. No one knows it better than the team we've built here.
Listen, I know. I mean, you've been on this show many times. We've talked about it on this show many times. We've talked about it on the radio show. But, Cash, can you say there is an investigation of the FBI's role in that invasion?
Another good question, Larry Kudlow.
I am, of course, overseeing the current matters that the FBI involved themselves with from Russiagate on. And whether or not there's an open investigation, Larry, I think you know that I can't answer that, but I think you know that our partners across the IC would not be divulging this type of information if it did not serve some sort of use. For me, specifically here at the FBI, I can't speak for them. And of course, I won't speak to any charging decisions on any matters. That will come with the collaboration of our great partners at DOJ, who work hand in hand with us every day.
I know. All right, let me ask follow-up, though. Have the leaders, it's under a different regime. You came in, you're there now, the leader. But have the old leaders who assigned this and directed this operation, have they been dismissed from the FBI?
Another good question. And I said this before, that one of the strong suits of the Trump administration is that the level of transparency with the media and the press. They'll go anywhere, talk to anyone, they'll do open press call. Every time they do something, they release it before it gets leaked, and they take all questions. And then Trump has had a policy of having his cabinet members and the people that he's appointed go and speak directly to the press. He doesn't. So he doesn't even have to take the questions. You hear it directly from the horse's mouth. The general it's up to the general public to, take it with a grain of salt or to whatever degree that they want to believe what's being said. But the fact that they actually speak to the press and there's not this cloud of secrecy with the administration, I think is commendable.
Every single person that has been found to have weaponized or participated in that process has been removed from leadership positions. And if and when we find any others that are involved in this, as you know, this is a 37,000 person agency, we are going to take swift action just like we have. And just look at the record of the people that have been dismissed for their actions and what they're saying when they get out there about how they personally opined about the weaponization of this place, just like one of Peter Strzok's friends did recently this past week.
Right.
That's how we know we're finding the right folks.
Right.
And we're going to keep doing it. It's not done yet, but we're going to stay on it.
All right. I get it. Thank you for that answer. I know you're going as far as you can go. Another question. Why was Mar-a-Lago invaded? What were they looking for? This is speculation. No one knows to this day. I mean, it happened several years ago. We'll probably be talking about this for years ahead. The subject of Russiagate came up at the Alaska meeting of the two leaders, Russia and the United States, Putin and Trump. What were they doing there, Cash? Does anybody have any idea? Why was the FBI? What was the FBI looking for?
Creating a crime where one did not exist. The answer has been definitive. There was no crime. There was no predicate to go and invade Donald Trump's home. We have answered that definitively. Now, you know me, working backwards from that point, we are going to hold people accountable who weaponize that system of justice for the following reason. We, the FBI, must restore accountability and credibility to the American public so we can arrest more top 10 predators, so we can go after more terrorists, so we can find the other people involved in Abbey-gate. These are the cases that matter to the FBI, and the distractions, to put it mildly, from the prior leadership regime are what thwarted the American public's belief and credibility in the FBI. And so when they do raids like Mar-a-Lago, now the American public knows it was made up. It was completely false. It was completely unconstitutional pursuant to our judicial courts. And we are working into those matters to say, why did you do it? We know there was no reason. Now it's time for accountability. And that's who we're talking to. And by the way, Larry, I'd like to announce on your show, if you got nothing to hide and you were DOJ and FBI before, you're welcome to come talk to the FBI at any time. And if you don't want to come talk to us, we're going to come find you, and we're going to put you in an investigative position and posture that will make you feel very uncomfortable, kind of like you did when you weaponized the government. The only difference is we're going to be doing it on a factual, legal, and constitutional basis to do so.
Is there any doubt in your mind that the progenitors of this whole Russiagate nonsense was Barack Obama and B, Hillary Clinton and the Clinton campaign? Is there any doubt about that? They were, the intel and the FBI ran with the ball and the media ran with the ball. But Hillary Clinton's campaign invented this whole Steele dossier, and Barack Obama, gave it new legs by getting a changed intelligence assessment after the election was over. Is there any doubt in your mind that that's basically correct?
No. And look at the ICA that was just declassified by Director Ratcliffe, the Intelligence Community Assessment. It literally shows in the declassification that people did not follow appropriate procedures, and Brennan and Clapper and Comey put their thumb on the scale and said, oh, this document has to be written in such a way that it shows such a baseline so that President Obama at the time and Hillary Clinton could use it to weaponize justice. And look, that's not me saying it. That's in the documents. And that's why this investigations of this matters are going on in the public as much as we can, so we can bring them along. I know you reported on Russiagate from jump, but there weren't many that did so credibly.
You bet we did.
So
you bet we did. It infuriated me. It infuriated me. Okay. Listen, it's quite true. I work for Trump. Okay. And I'm a supporter of Trump. But I did it because this is an American thing. We have to restore the integrity of our law enforcement system here to make America, you know, great again, to coin a phrase. Cash Patel, last minute. Just got to ask you this. It's a lot smaller beer than what we've been talking about. But this business about mortgage fraud is cropping up everywhere. Now we have this Federal Reserve Governor, Lisa Cook. We had Senator Adam Smith. We got in New York, the Attorney General.
Yeah, and I think Trump just fired Lisa Cook, the Keisha on the Fed board. I think he just fired her today. I saw that in my news feed earlier.
General Letitia James. Does the FBI do the investigating for mortgage fraud?
It's generally speaking, it's a multi-agency effort, and when we receive.
Yeah, there she go, the big bad Keisha. I think Trump fired her today. Fed Governor USA, Lisa Cook accused of mortgage fraud. Yeah, I think Trump just fired her today.
Referrals, we reach out to the experts at FHHA and all the other institutions like the Federal Reserve and you're talking about, and we say, hey, if this is a matter that you want us to look at, you got to provide us with all the documentation, and we will take a thorough look at it and work with our partners at DOJ.
I mean,
on all of these
if you have a contract, we've all done it, or most of us have done it. If you have a contract and it says, is this your primary residence? What's so hard about that? It's like binary. Yes, no. Yes, no. There's no fudging. Yes or no. I don't understand what's so hard about this. There's like this disease breaking out.
Yeah, and listen, we are going to rout out any sort of corruption, especially public corruption, because that's what President Trump promised the American people, and that's what this FBI is going to deliver, whether it's mortgage fraud or public corruption. I think you just saw a couple of takedowns by the FBI in the last month of 2 sitting mayors and police officers who were publicly involved in corruption, I believe in New Orleans and elsewhere. So that effort's not coming, and we've got a lot more public corruption cases that we're building here as we speak.
All right, bet. Let me do this. This chick from Colombia who was doxing ICE agents, and they snatched her out of her car doing a live stream, and her wig fell off. A couple people told me to do that one. I didn't get a chance to cover it last week, so just play a piece of that. We're at the 44-minute mark. Let's go. Is this it? Here we go.
Influencer Tatiana, the influencer that kept on doxing them right up on her live stream. You see, when you F around, you find out. Now, the clout chaser, let's see how much clout she gets when she get back to her home country. I wish you all the success. I know how hard it is to build an audience. I know how hard it is. And that's why people got to chase clout, because they want to speed up the process. Now, they had them boots on your neck and you crying for help. And did your clout help you? Nope. You got a one-way ticket back to your home country. So,
yo, what up, Music Man? I see you, Playboy.
Well, good luck.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to talk about Colombian TikToker Tatiana Martinez, who found out after ICE agents pulled up on her while she was live streaming. And
man, she got to be from Cali, Colombia, bro. What you call it? She driving around in a Tesla. Yo, this is a Black conservative perspective. Greg Foreman. He's covering this joint, but he put the news clips together.
And arrested her, okay? And this person is being arrested because she's here illegally, and she decided that she would try to dox ICE agents.
D-Rock Den in the building. What up, Playboy?
Or put it this way, they say that she was trying to dox ICE agents, but she would document ICE activity and pull up on them and report on ICE activity presumably to help illegal immigrants evade and escape ICE, right? To know how to get around ICE. This is the type of content that she was posting on TikTok. Also, she seems to have some Trump derangement as well, too, because she's concerned about Trump and Epstein. Seems like she was kind of concerned about all the wrong things in this country.
Estaba revisando las redes sociales de la Casa Blanca y me encontré con muchísimos comentarios y siempre es la misma pregunta. ¿Por qué el presidente Donald Trump no ha publicado la lista completa de Epstein? Recordemos que el presidente Donald Trump fue muy amigo de Jeffrey Epstein por años. Hay fotos y videos que lo comprueban en fiesta, vuelos compartidos. Bueno, pero ahora todos están pidiendo que publique la lista completa de los clientes. Hola, buenas tardes. Ya hoy lunes 11 de agosto estamos aquí en el Home Depot, acá en Sherman, en North Hollywood, en el Home Depot. A las 9, aproximadamente a las 9:42 de la mañana.
How you gonna be in another country there illegally and involving yourself in their local politics? You got a Tesla. You should just keep your head down and keep it moving. She all on social media. That shit crazy. That's why our ass is in alligator Alcatraz about to be deported.
Se llevaron, ahora sí que los de la migraña, se llevaron alrededor de 11.
Not only was ICE and Border Patrol all over Los Angeles today, in downtown, they targeted a young TikToker, brutalizing her. She ended up at the hospital, and it was a clear instance of retaliation. Today is Friday, August 15th, and these are your ICE recaps for in and around LA. First of all, a quick shout out to Carrillo Law Firm, who are committed to seeking justice for families affected by civil rights violations, sexual abuse, and
I don't want to hear nothing about these migrants. D-Rock Den with the $2.99 super sticker. Appreciate you, Playboy. Let's play some drops.
Am I the meanest?
Sure enough.
Am I the prettiest?
Sure enough.
Am I the baddest mofo low down around this time?
Sure enough.
Well, who am I?
Sure enough.
Who am I?
Sure enough.
I can't hear you.
Sure enough.
Man, fuck all you hoes. Fuck you and your mammy and your granny too. I'm sick of this shit. Fuck all you hoes. Don't give a damn, bitch, what you wanna do.
wrongful death. Thank you for supporting today's Daily Memo. So in downtown LA off of Fremont and Temple, ICE agents were spotted waiting around an apartment building for Tatiana Martinez, who was a young Colombian TikToker who's making a name for herself reporting on ICE raids. Now you can see the moment that pulled her out in the vehicle, she was actually live streaming at that moment. And agents grabbed her. You can see where her head's getting pinned up on the roof. They grab her by an arm and a leg and just kind of pick her up and threw her on the ground, wrestle her down, put their knees on her head and her neck. During that whole horrific situation, a tow truck actually came and swooped up one of the ICE agents' vehicles and took it away. And you can see the ICE agent running after it. But this poor woman, Tatiana Martinez, she suffered shock. She ended up passing out. They had to call the ambulance, and she was taken to White Memorial Hospital, where she was released around noon today, and now is at the detention center. But besides that incident with clear retaliation, ICE and Border Patrol were still all over Los Angeles at guess where?
It's not retaliation, it's illegal. I'm gonna be honest with you, like, cause I'm in foreign countries right now. Like, the audacity of these people in our country with no papers, way overstaying their visa, and they got the entitlement, like they deserve to get stuff. Like, it's crazy to me, bro. I got no remorse for this.
Home Depots and car washes again. They were at the Pasadena Home Depot. We're unsure if they took anybody there, but rapid responders did come out and confront the agents, got in their faces, and one of them almost got arrested, if not for jumping on his car and avoiding the long arms of ICE. Right down the street there, still in Pasadena, at the Sierra Madre Via station, Border Patrol was seen inside the parking structure taking somebody from there. And the other Home Depot they visited was the Van Nuys one again. They went back there, and this time they took a street vendor, a lady, reportedly a single mother of 2. Now, the car washes. They were at the Montebello car wash where they took 1 person, and they were also at a car wash in Whittier, the Pacific Auto Spa, where they took a couple people. They remained pretty active in Whittier. There's another instance where they took another street vendor. So this was a lady who had...
They took a street vendor. No, they took a person without fucking papers. Like, it's crazy the way they're framing this.
To mourn Carlos Montoya, who was a day laborer who died on the 210 freeway when he was struck by a vehicle.
No way, no.
Yeah, so right here you can see kind of what happened on
music, and they marched wanting ICE to be out of Monrovia.
Yeah, so right here you can see kind of what happened on live.
Ay, espérate, no, güey, no, espérate. Espérate, me voy a dejar, pero 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 espérate.
Can't speak a lick of English. Can't speak a lick of English. No, those officers are not waiting, right? They're not waiting. Wait. No, they're not waiting for you to fix your weave, right? Because, this woman, she got that weave on, right? But when she got pulled out the car, that weave came off. Okay? So, yeah, I mean, see, this is what I'm talking about, right? Like, think about it. You're a police officer in LA. You basically got to speak Spanish, right? I mean, like, come on. Like, you got to speak Spanish. Do people really want to live in a country like this? Do you really want to live in a country where you essentially need to know 2 languages in order to do a job, right? Because you got so many Spanish speakers here who, again, don't learn a lick of English, okay? I believe this woman has been here, for maybe some years, okay? And she did a TikTok when she was talking about how she got her Tesla, right? How she got her car. And it's like she was able to get a car, okay, living here illegally, and can't speak a lick of English, but was still able to get a Tesla. Again, it's everything wrong with the country right now. Again, we got too many people here who can't speak English, and they can still get by just fine, like this woman. They'll, I wouldn't be surprised, right, if we learned that this woman is making money doing other things outside of, being on TikTok, right? I personally believe, based off her background, where she's from, how she looks, right, how she presents herself, she's probably making money selling some stuff. The most valuable thing that women like her tend to provide, right? What they can provide and make the most money off of quickly, right? So I think that's probably what's going on here. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure. All I know is that, again, she resisted arrest and got dragged from her Tesla, okay? And now she's detained, okay? And I don't know, maybe she'll be reporting live from Colombia, right? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, clearly, ICE does not discriminate against thick Latinas, right? They don't discriminate, okay? If you're here, even as a thick one, you can get deported. You can get deported. Especially if you're trying to dox ICE, right? If you're trying to dox them, okay? If you're trying to document everything they're doing, their activities, in order to help your amigos escape, right? In order to not be deported, these are the consequences. Again,
All right, bet. All right, let's do JD Vance did meet the press. I believe it was this past Sunday. We're at the 55-minute mark, yeah, and we'll wrap up with that one. We'll be a little bit over an hour. So let's look at our boy Vance, the 2028 presidential hopeful, who appears to be the front runner based on our recent poll numbers over at Rasmussen and a couple of the other by the numbers segments we did. I think he was up. He was front runner, polling at 53%. So let's listen to Vance go through some stuff with the insufferable meet the press.
I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think that we're going to continue to make progress, but ultimately, whether the killing stops, that determination is going to belong to whether the Russians and the Ukrainians can actually find some middle ground here.
Well, you talk about concessions, and yet the Russians rejected
the ceasefire proposal that President Trump put forward. There's no meeting plan between President Putin and President Zelensky. And this week, Russia targeted an American factory in Ukraine. There were 600 people inside at the time. No one was killed. What makes you think President Putin is serious about peace?
Well, I didn't say they conceded on everything, but what they have conceded is the recognition that Ukraine will have territorial integrity after the war. They've recognized that they're not going to be able to install a puppet regime in Kiev. That was, of course, a major demand at the beginning. And importantly, they've acknowledged that there is going to be some security guarantee to the territorial integrity of Ukraine. Again, have they made every concession? Of course they haven't. Should they have started the war? Of course they haven't. But we're making progress, Chris. And what I admire about the president in this moment is he's not asking 3.5 years ago. He's not, trying to focus on every nitpicky detail of how this thing started 3.5 years ago. He's trying to focus on the nitpicky details of now, of what do the parties disagree on? What do they agree on? And how do you build a foundation from one side of that ledger to the other so that you can stop the killing?
But was President Trump, were you enraged when you learned that Russia targeted an American company based in Ukraine?
I don't
was
like
that not
it,
a slap
Kristen.
in the face?
I
to the
don't.
peace?
Is it me, or are these like female reporters just overwhelmingly irritating? Look at her face. It's insufferable to watch them do interviews.
I don't like it, Kristen, but this is a war, and this is why we want to stop the killing. The Russians have done a lot of things that we don't like. A lot of civilians have died. We've condemned that stuff from the get-go, and frankly, President Trump has done more to apply pressure and to apply economic leverage to the Russians, certainly than Joe Biden did for 3.5 years when he did nothing but talk, but do nothing to bring the killing to a stop. So you asked me what I'm enraged by. What I'm enraged by is the continuation of the war.
Yeah, exactly, Detroit. Notice how ABC reporter is still defending Zelensky. She's got to. And more importantly, this war raged out of control. It started and raged out of control under the Biden administration. Like, there was no war during the Trump administration. And so it's just ironic to me that this administration's in, and they're actually trying to stop the war that started under the Biden administration. And they seem to be more upset with them trying to broker a peace deal than they were with the actual war, which is crazy.
Raged by is a presidency and Joe Biden, who for 3 years did nothing to end the killing. What I'm actually excited about right now is that we have a president who's engaging in energetic diplomacy to try to stop the killing. That's as it should be. I think the American people should be proud of it. And whatever the outcome of this, whether the war ends in 3 months or 6 months or hopefully not beyond, but maybe, we should be proud that we have a president who's trying to stop the killing. He's done it, by the way, 6 wars that the president has brought to a close all over the world. This would be the 7th. It's the most complicated, but we're trying despite that.
I had the opportunity to interview Secretary Rubio last week, and he said he actually doesn't think that new sanctions would force Putin into a ceasefire. Are sanctions now off the table, Mr. Vice President?
The sanctions aren't off the table, but we're going to make these determinations on a case-by-case basis. What do we think is actually going to exert the right kind of leverage to bring the Russians to the table? Now, you said sanctions.
Yeah, that's a fact, Detroit. He said she doesn't realize that Zelensky is a bloodthirsty warmonger and kidnapping men in Ukraine, yet she doesn't report on that. The thing is, I think they do know, and it's purposely not reported. And the other thing is, Zelensky is just a puppet. We got international cabal vibes. Like, that's the whole push with them, with him saying he wants to be a part of NATO. You had NATO backing this play, using Ukraine as a proxy war against Russia, which Trump is aware of, which is why in these trade and tariff agreements with the European Union, he's forced them to foot the majority of the Ukraine war bill, which is in part also now that they actually have to fork out the money, and the U.S. isn't paying for the war. Now all of a sudden they want the war to stop, and now they're all gung ho behind these peace talks. So yeah, Zelensky is just a puppet. I mean, like I said, he was a comedian, the clown. You seen all them fruity pictures of him dancing and everything. Like, and this is the guy that's the leader of the company. He's a patsy.
Were not going to lead to a ceasefire. I think that's obviously correct. If you look at the way the Russians have conducted themselves, they don't want a ceasefire. They don't want a ceasefire for complicated reasons. We, of course, have pushed for a ceasefire. But again, we don't control what Russia does. If we did, the war would have been over 7 months ago. What we do believe, though, is that we continue to have a lot of cards. The President of the United States has a lot of cards left to play to apply pressure to try to bring this conflict to a close. And that's what we're going to do.
You take me to my next question. Where exactly is the pressure on Russia to do anything if you're not right now imposing new sanctions? How do you get them to a place of getting to the table with Zelensky and stopping to drop?
Look at her body language. It's just irritating to watch her. And she's so off base with these leading questions. And look at this interview with Vance, with the press. This is NBC. And then go back during the Biden administration, the interviews that they give to the Biden administration. And there are all these softball questions like, well, how do you pick out your ties in the morning? It's crazy.
But Kristen, I think that question betrays a fundamental misunderstanding of where we are. The president has applied aggressive economic leverage, for example, the secondary tariffs on India to try to make it harder for the Russians to get rich from their oil economy. He's tried to make it clear that Russia can be reinvited into the world economy if they stop the killing, but they're going to continue to be isolated if they don't stop the killing. The president has applied more economic pressure to the Russians to stop this war than Biden did in 3 years. So the idea that we're not doing anything, we're already doing things right now. And this is how negotiation works. You do something, you talk to the parties, you try to see if there's a meeting of minds. Again, we believe we've already seen some significant concessions from both sides just in the last few weeks. We're going to eventually be successful, or we'll hit a brick wall. And if we hit a brick wall, then we're going to continue this process of negotiation, of applying leverage. This is the energetic diplomacy that's going to bring this war to a close.
I hear what you're saying about India. China is actually the largest buyer of Russian oil.
They're close. They're about equal.
Why no sanctions on China?
Well, obviously, we have a 54% tariff on the PRC right now. So we've already applied pretty hefty sanctions on the Chinese. And we've had a number of conversations at all levels of government to try to encourage the Chinese to be better partners and bring this.
This is why Trump sends Vance out for these interviews. He's one of the, I haven't seen someone handle the media like this in a long time. Like, here's the thing. It's not only how well measured he is with the media, his ability to push back on leading and narrative-based questions. Also, the clarity of his answers. He answers the questions directly. He pivots back to talking points and things that are positive for the administration, but his answers are forthright. This is a skill, this level of media savvy with regard to, and by all, this isn't as hostile a interview as he's done prior to the election, but nonetheless, it's an aggressive interview. Yeah, Vance handles the press like no one I've ever seen. Byron Donalds is a close second, and Marco Rubio is pretty good too.
This war to a close. So again, I think the question betrays a misunderstanding of what's going on. We are applying aggressive economic pressure to bring this war to a close. Maybe we'll apply additional pressure. Maybe if we feel like we're making progress, we'll dial that pressure back. That give and take is part of the negotiation that we think is working. It hasn't reached its final outcome yet, but we're going to keep on working on this process for as long as we can.
Just to boil down what the Russian concessions might look like, is the only thing that President Trump is asking Russia to give up is not to invade all of Ukraine? No, that's not it at all. It's providing the Ukrainians the kind of security guarantees that ensures that the country is not going to be invaded again. And this is really, this is why I think we've made a lot of progress, Kristen. Even though we're not yet there, why we've made a lot of progress is fundamentally the disagreement.
You said Trump needs to drop NATO and unite with Putin. The entire world will have a meltdown if that happens. But I think he is trying to go into business with Trump believes in making business deals because they're mutually beneficial. And I think I heard rumors of something about an additional mineral rights deal. I know he struck some semblance of a mineral rights deal with Ukraine because the mineral rights deal in turn implies security resources for the region because we'll be there protecting our business interests with regards to the mineral rights. So it's a twofer. It's not actually troops on the ground, but it is security presence, but with regard to business interests, not with regard to a standing war posture.
Agreement here is over security guarantees versus where you draw the battle lines in Ukraine. So whether we solve those issues, we've actually identified the two critical issues, one to the Ukrainians, one to the Russians. And I think that that is where the fruit, if we ultimately solve this thing, that's where the fruit of an agreement will come.
I want to get to security guarantees, but very quickly, if Russia is allowed to keep any of the territory that it illegally seized, what message does that send to China? Does it give China a green light to invade Taiwan? Does it give Russia a green light to invade?
Yeah, facts, D-Rock. Then he said American leftists will crash out if that happened. Oh, yeah. It would be a complete and total meltdown. It'd be funny and well worth seeing, though.
Other European countries, which is what your European allies are concerned about.
Well, first of all, the Ukrainians are going to ultimately make the determination about where you draw the territorial lines in their own country. But Kristen, this is how wars ultimately get settled. If you go back to World War II, if you go back to World War I, if you go back to every major conflict in human history, they all end with some kind of negotiation.
Exactly. I'm saying this is how all wars get settled. I mean, it's almost embarrassing the level of naivete of these questions from this newscaster. I mean, now granted, some of the questions are warranted. Meet the Press is supposed to be a in the spirit of Tim Russert. That's the Meet the Press I used to watch. Tim Russert every Sunday with my dad. Meet the Press is supposed to be a hard-hitting investigative news program. But who took it over? Chuck Todd, and then they had this woman. It's all DEI. It transitioned into just being a blatantly hostile news interview, but only toward the right and conservative guests. When it came to the Biden administration and their liberal guests, it wasn't hard hitting at all. It was, like I said, it was all these softball questions. I think they've eroded the prestige of this news program because Meet the Press under Tim Russert, who did it for years through the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. It was a respectable journalistic platform.
We're actually not active parties in the negotiation. We're effectively mediating. We're trying to mediate the Ukrainians and the Russians to come to some agreement. If the Ukrainians are willing to say something on territory that brings the conflict to the close, we're not going to stop them. We're also not going to force them because it's not our country. We're trying to play a constructive role. The president is trying to play a constructive role to bring peace to the region, but he's not going to force these parties to walk through the door. All he can do is open the door and ask them to negotiate in good faith.
You talk about security guarantees.
Sure.
Foreign Minister Lavrov discussed the importance of Russia being a part of security guarantees. Ukraine says that's a non-starter. Is that?
Let me see if anything else from this. Is this all? This is Chef. All right. It looks like the entire. The entire Vance part, I guess, is going to be all Russia. Let's listen to a little bit more of this and we'll call it a night.
A non-starter for the United States as well. How can Russia secure Ukraine when it's dropping bombs on
There's
Ukraine?
a little bit of a talking past each other here. First of all, we're not talking about security guarantees until after the war has come to a close. And of course, the Russians are going to be a part of the conversation about bringing that war to a close. So of course, they're going to have some stake in this. They're going to talk about this. That doesn't mean that they're going to have troops in Ukrainian territory, but how can you reasonably provide security guarantees without talking to the Russians about what would be necessary to bring the war to a close? So I think there's a little bit of people talking past each other. This is going to be a security guarantee provided by a host of nations. I think the Europeans are obviously going to play a big role. We think there are other countries all over the world that might play a big role. The Russians are going to be involved because they're the critical party that's necessary to stop the killing. Again, this is how negotiations happen. It's this give and take. It's a conversation between both sides.
Very quickly before I move to domestic issues for Americans who are watching, can you guarantee no U.S. boots on the ground as a part of these security
The
guarantees?
president's very clear. There are not going to be boots on the ground in Ukraine, but we are going to continue to play an active role in trying to ensure that the Ukrainians have the security guarantees and the confidence they need to stop the war on their end. And the Russians feel like they can bring the war to a conclusion on their end. It's complicated, Kristen, but we're going to keep on trying to play these parties. We're going to keep on trying to convince these parties to talk to each other and continue to play the game of diplomacy, because that's the only way to get this thing wrapped up.
All right, let's talk about some domestic issues now. This week you were in Georgia. You were there to talk about and promote the One Big Beautiful Bill. And it also comes in the same week that Texas Republicans approved 5 new Republican.
I bet. Yeah, let's hear him talk about the 5 new Republican seats. No, I'm with you, Detroit. And yeah, America can't afford another war. Too many loose ends. Yeah, it's not in our best interest. YouTube is watching my comments. I can believe it. A lot of weird stuff happening with YouTube. People ain't getting my notifications, all type of shit.
Seats. So they expanded the map for Republicans in their state. If President Trump's agenda is so popular, why do Republicans need to add additional seats to the map?
Well, first of all, Kristen.
See what a leading question that is? She's leading out the fact that the Democrats have been gerrymandering for years. They've gerrymandered Illinois so much they can't even gerrymander anymore. And Republicans have been cheated out of seats. They just never fight back. So it's cool when the Democrats gerrymander. But you know the funny thing is, under this Trump administration, you're starting to realize that the Democratic Party was never strong in the first place. They've stayed in power by fear-mongering, all sorts of cheating, lawfare, gerrymandering. They're a paper tiger.
You have to ask yourself, why have Democrats gerrymandered their states aggressively over the past 10 to 20 years? If you look, for example, at the popular vote in a lot of these states, and Massachusetts, where 32% of the residents of Massachusetts voted for Republicans, 0 Republican federal representatives. So we're not trying to all we're doing, frankly, is trying to make the situation a little bit more fair on a national scale. The Democrats have gerrymandered their states really aggressively. We think there are opportunities to push back against that, and that's really all we're doing.
So final question for you, Mr. Vice President. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Elon Musk is halting his plans to create a new political party, in part because he wants to support you for president in 2028. I know you've been asked about this. You said you have not discussed this with him.
That's right.
But do you see yourself as the apparent future of the MAGA movement?
No, I see myself as a vice president who's trying to do a good job for the American people, Kristen. And if I do a good job.
Good answer. Good answer. I keep saying this, bro. This Vance guy is slicker than oil, bro. If he wins 2028, man, we better hope this guy doesn't go bad or go rogue, because he's dangerous.
If the president continues to be successful, as I know that he will be, the politics will take care of itself. We can cross that bridge when we come to it. But we just had an election 7 months ago. I think I'm probably like most Americans, and I'm already sick of talking about politics after a big general election. The next election that matters is not the election of 2028, it's 2026. So before we talk about anything 3.5 years down the road, let's take a break from politics, focus on governing the country. And when we return to politics, it's going to be to focus on those midterm elections.
Have you had any conversations with President Trump about him passing the torch on to you?
As you know, the president talks about everything. And if it's in the news, the president and I have certainly discussed it. But I think the president is just focused on doing a good job for the American people. He wants me to be focused on doing a good job for the American people. That's what I'll keep on doing. And again, if we take care of business, If America is safer, if it's more prosperous, if young people can afford to buy a home, if we actually bring peace to all these regions of the world, which we've made great progress in doing, the politics will take care of itself.
See how we pivoted back on the policy talking points? See that? Well played. See how we pivoted back and listed some of the policy talking points that were the policy foundation that Trump won the election on, popular as well as electoral college, and gave him the mandate. Well played.
When we come back, Russian foreign.
All right, bet. So I said such a beehive. Yeah, she is a pinhead. She's insufferable. Like most of these female reporters. All right, guys, that's my time for tonight. We're at the 1 hour, 17-minute mark. Man, thanks for coming through, hanging out with me. I'll be back again tomorrow. You know how we do. Good night and good luck.
Tomorrow's weather happened yesterday, so we're experiencing reverse precipitation. Rain will unfall upward into the clouds starting at 3 p.m.
We're getting reports that local resident Mike Johnson has discovered he's been the same NPC for 3 years, repeating identical conversations with neighbors.
As you can see, we have heavy cat precipitation moving through the Midwest. Expect 3 to 4 inches of tabby cats with scattered Persian showers.
We're seeing a high-pressure system of existential dread moving in from the west, with scattered anxiety showers and a 70% chance of emotional breakdown by evening.
Good evening, I'm Sarah Mitchell. Wait, why are there 2 of us? I think we're experiencing a rendering error.
In tonight's game, gravity was
panel. This country needs stronger border security. Our border security is the strongest in the world.
What we need is to take care of our children.
I can't get an erection. You think giving them amnesty is fair to the people who are already here? They're contributing to the economy. I've tried all the herbs. Amnesty is never the answer. It's not amnesty. It's recognizing their contributions to our country. They said to meditate, but I keep falling asleep. We need stronger vetting.
And to enforce the laws already on the books.
I'm terrified of being alone with my wife. It's too much pressure. Well, nothing's ever going to change if Congress isn't willing to compromise. Exactly my point.
A wall would solve this.
I wake up with an erection, but never when she's in the bed with me. A wall would solve nothing.
These children have rights.
I spent $3 grand on a sandals vacation thinking that might do it. Know what it was? Me being limp on a lazy river.
Well, that's all the time we have.
Sorry.
Hey, where's Stewie?
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. Okay, I don't know. Whatever it is, it's not right on the teleprompter.
There it is. We are going to do Sting, yeah.
There's no words there. To play us out. What does that mean, to play us out? To end the show?
Yeah.
All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today, and we'll leave you with a... I can't do it. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Stewie Griffin. Thanks for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.